Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm Sade. Thank you for joining me for our astrology talk on my channel, Hidden Alchemy. For today, we are going to dive into what does it mean if you have your rising in the sign of Scorpio. Now, before we dive into this, go ahead onto my website, Hidden Alchemy by Sade, where you can go ahead and check out my offerings. I have opened my books up for readings, and you can check out my offerings, how to get in contact with me, and we can dive deeper into your chart. But for the sake of this video, let's dive into what it means if you have a Scorpio ascendant or Scorpio rising, Scorpio in your first house. Now, I love dissecting the Scorpion energy. I myself am very Scorpion. I have my North Node in the eighth house. I'm a Taurus rising, so that means that I have Scorpio in my seventh house of relationships. So I really resonate with this Scorpion placement of Scorpio in the first house, Taurus in the seventh house, just reversing the two placements. Now, your rising sign. The first house is originally ruled by Aries. It's where Aries feels the most comfortable. It's where the sun feels the most comfortable, and it's where Mars feels the most comfortable. The beautiful thing about this is Scorpio in the first house, Scorpio is Mars ruled. Now, it's the feminine Mars. Okay, so that means that it internalizes energy and internalizes the people, places, and things around them and uses that fire to transform themselves. Now, what makes Scorpio rising so powerful is they are literally here to learn personal power through their relationships. Because Scorpio is the feminine Mars, they have to learn how to transform themselves through the pain and the trauma and all of the things that they endure in this lifetime to keep building personal power, and that's going to happen through their relations with other people. Now, if you haven't dived into any of my videos on what the sun, moon, and rising is, check it out in case this is sounding a bit confusing. But Scorpio, being the archetype ruled by Mars, it's a water sign, it's fixed, and it's also ruled by Pluto. A lot of astrologers don't like to dissect Pluto as much. I love to dissect Pluto, but Pluto is the higher octave of Mars, and it's the ability to take that Mars fire and use it to destroy and transform and build into something different, something being yourself. So when you have Scorpio in the first house, these are people who can come across very intimidating to other people. And the reason being is because you have that dark feminine energy. And what I love about this placement is if you are not a person, Scorpio energy pushes you to tap into your psychology. These are people who like to study and understand the psychology of themselves, and they want to study and understand the psychology of other people. So when these folks are studying and understanding the psychology of themselves, they are understanding their light and their dark, because that is what they're here to do. Understand themselves through other people, their deep dark self. Now, when you come across these people, if you are a person who does not do shadow work on yourself, what you are experiencing from that person is really the aspect of yourself that you haven't really dived deeper into. And what I mean by that is sometimes Scorpio risings can come across very intimidating, very standoffish because they're observing, because they're studying. And if they are a person who is very self aware and they've been doing the work and they have that personal power, they are going to embody that darker feminine energy of self-knowing and sensuality, sexuality, not in a promiscuous way at all, but in a powerful way of under and understanding self. This can make other people very intimidated if they have not done that work on themselves. And that's why they can look at these folks and they can say, oh, like this person has a resting bitch face, or this person is a little standoffish, or this person is very abrasive. And it's not, it may be that, but it's also that this person is aware of themselves. And this person knows how to move from their own personal power with courage and with confidence. And especially if you are not that type, it can come off as very intimidating sometimes. And this is a beautiful thing that these folks bring up out of people because they're moving with Pluto. So they're moving with that energy of transformation. And when you are moving in the world with your rising, it's how people receive you. It's what people get from you. And if if that Pluto energy is uncomfortable for someone else, if they haven't really transformed an aspect of themselves, or if they're lying or hiding, and that's another thing. People with Scorpio in the first house, they are always sensing what's going on. So if you're wearing a mask and you're trying to cover things up, you're going to feel uncomfortable around these folks, because that Pluto Mars energy is viewing you, is reading you. They love to penetrate the psychology of other people. So they're going to try to understand you, and they're going to study you. And if they're sensing like your body language is off, your movements are off, this is off, then they're going to really be able to read you and see you on a different level that can really make you uncomfortable. So this is a rising sign. I know a few folks that have this rising sign, and they have that personal power. But because me and my Taurus energy and my rising, right, on the inside, Scorpio rising folks are so loving, so devoted, because they have that Taurus energy in their house of relationships. It's just that they are here to transform themselves, and their energy forces other people to transform, which can be so intimidating and so uncomfortable, but so powerful if you allow that energy in. Pluto energy is not easy energy to deal with, especially if it's in your first house. If you are a Scorpio person in the first house, you are here to constantly die and evolve. There's no ending to that, which is so uncomfortable, but it's literally what your gift is of constantly understanding that we are not here to attach ourselves to the exterior world, which is what Taurus can do, right? Taurus wants to attach themselves to their possessions, but instead, you are here to evolve internally. Take what's given to you and keep transforming and keep changing. And these folks can really see and witness and deal with a lot of deep pain in their life, a lot of deep trauma, have a hard time connecting with people because they take their relationships so serious. These are people that take things serious. They take their relationships serious. They take their studies serious. They take their work serious. And this is what they portray to other people and pull out of other people, which can be very intimidating. And because these folks, strive for intimacy, because Scorpio rules intimacy. They want to penetrate their partner, not just in a sexual way, but in the sense of penetrating their mind, penetrating their spirit, and having that deep one-on-one connection. It can be very hard for them sometimes to find that connection because of their fears of betrayal. Now, having Scorpio in the first house means you lead with that darker Scorpion energy, that darker feminine energy, not darker Scorpion energy, the darker feminine energy of fear, of insecurity, of phobia, of deceit, of jealousy. You can move from that energy. And that's why it's so important for y'all to understand your psychology in this lifetime, so that you can bring balance with that Taurus energy, that Venus of like, you got to let people in. It's okay to take things lightly. It's okay to socialize and have fun. They really have to understand that my foot is falling asleep, so I have to like move from side to side. But they really can understand that on a deep, intimate level of like understanding themselves, and then having to bring that balance of like, okay, let's be a little lighthearted, let's have a little bit more fun, and we don't really have to take things too serious. But because they have that rising energy, it's hard for them not to take things serious. Now, because you have Scorpio in the first house, it means that you have Aquarius in the fourth house and you have Leo in the 10th. And what that says for me is that there could have possibly been the father figure might not have allowed you to dabble into your creative tendencies, because Leo is in that 10th house, the Saturn house. Just go ahead and sit cross-legged. Leo is in that Saturn house. So what that shows me is that maybe the father didn't allow you a lot of self-expression, because when you have the sun in the house of restrictions, there could have been a lot of restrictions in playfulness, which is why these folks can appear very serious sometimes. And there could have been a lot of restrictions in just creativity and, inner child joy. Now, having Aquarius in the fourth house, what that shows me is that there's a relationship with the mom, but the relationship with the mom might not be deeply emotional. There could be a little bit of detachment because you have Aquarius, which is a very detached sign, in the fourth house, which is the house of Cancer, which rules, connection. It's water, ancestral knowledge, ancestral wisdom. The relationship with the mom can be very friendly, but might not be deeply emotionally intimate. And this is what these folks really yearn for, especially in that rising element, is to have deep, intimate relationships with the people around them. These are people who are deep investigators. They can study and penetrate and understand the psychology of things, the inner workings of things. And that's what makes these folks so understanding in relationships, because they can see the darker aspect of society, the darker aspect of humanity, and understand that in order to be whole, it's not just about being light, it's about understanding your light and your dark. And that is why these people, when they're in their relationships, they can really be in partnerships for the long haul, because they know that relationships are about evolution, because their life has been evolution. And they know that there's a lot of darkness that comes with that. And there's nothing to fear, because these folks are going to dive headfirst into the darker aspects of life, because they have been studying and doing this their entire life. Whereas some people would like to avoid, like a Taurus rising, okay, we like to avoid, okay. But when I started to really study my Scorpion descendant, and embrace my darker aspect, embrace my shadow, I was really able to see those deeper emotions, those darker emotions, and understand that relationships bring about evolution and change. And it's not about fearing it, but it's about going through it so that you can become a better person after. Because that's what Scorpio in the first house really is teaching themselves as well as others, is take the fire and the pain that you're given and use that to transform yourself into being a higher version of yourself, a completely new version of yourself, and a healer. Once these folks understand that this is what they're here to do, is to evolve, they can be some of the greatest lovers and the greatest healers in the zodiac. All right, y'all, let me know if you have Scorpio in your first house, if this resonates with you. I would love to hear, and I will see you for our next video.